Wow, I mean, you have those days, right, when you go to bed, you wake up, and then the whole world that you exist in just changes, and it's like Bizarro World. I mean, we had UFC 181, which was a great show. I was looking forward to it. It's been a long month for me personally, and I mean, what a great night. I mean, you had Travis Brown beat Brendan Schaub by knockout. Uriah Faber wins again, although that's going to be contested because of the eye poke. And that was really great. I'm a huge fan of Uriah Faber. If you know me in person and you have conversations with me, I can go on for days about that guy, man. He's awesome. He's one of my favourite fighters. You have Anthony Showtime Pettis and Gilbert Melendez fighting for the lightweight championship. And I'll tell you what right now. Let's just clarify this. Anthony Pettis is a scary man. That he is able to steamroll through top level, elite level fighters. That he was able to do that to Benson Henderson. That he was able to take out Donald Cerrone. I mean, he had one loss, which is debatable, against Clay Guida, and he was taken down. But the fact that he improved his takedown defense so much is saying something, because he's going against a Gilbert Melendez who could take him down. That he was able to beat Gilbert Melendez was giving him a hard fight. He was putting pressure on him. He's making Pettis back up a bit, and then Pettis does what he always does. He just finds a way to win and beat you. He's a very, very impressive fighter, and I've always said this. The 155-pound weight class, in my opinion, is the most talent-filled and the most competitive weight class of all the weight classes. And I mean, well done to Anthony Pettis, and obviously well done to Gilbert. He's a fighter I like and respect a lot. I think Melendez will be back pretty soon. My only knock on Melendez really is, I find for the last couple of years he's had long breaks between fights, and I think that does kind of hurt him a little bit at times. But very classy with the way he handled the loss. I thought that was much respect to that man. And then we have the welterweight championship fight. Robbie Lawler, Johnny Hendricks, and my thoughts on this are this. If you know me again, and if you've been talking to me for the last few years, you will know that I'm a big fan of Robbie Lawler. I was a fan of his when he was a teenager, I think, almost, fighting in the UFC many years ago, when it was him and Diaz and GSP and Alves as the guys to watch on the rise in Cairo Parisian. Obviously, St. Pierre was the one that took it over. Lawler kind of fell out of the UFC, and he was fighting outside. And I watch a lot of MMA outside of the UFC, so I was watching a lot of his fights. I think he even fought for Pride at one point. I'm pretty sure he did, actually. I saw him in Elite XC. I saw him fight in that Hawaiian promotion that the BJ Penn's brother had going. I've seen so many of his fights, Strikeforce, and I always liked his style. I liked the way he fought. I thought he was a very aggressive fighter. He was a middleweight when he left the UFC. I felt that he was a bit inconsistent though at one point, and it kind of looked like Robbie Lawler would just be very up and down. He had a loss against Tim Kennedy, and he performed. It was a very underwhelming fight for him. He lost to Jacare. He had a loss to Jake Shields. Very up and down performances. But then he goes back to the UFC. He goes back down to welterweight. And it's like this fire was just lit under Robbie Lawler. And he's just been on fire ever since. The fight against Josh Koscheck was a great example of that. The fight against Volker, when he knocked him out with a head kick and he did that famous pose like that and knocked out Volker. There was that fight against Rory McDonald, a very good Rory McDonald, and he beat him too. And then he fights Johnny Hendricks in a classic welterweight title fight, which I thought he was going to win, but then that takedown changed it all for him. Then he comes back. He comes back so quickly. And he fights Jake Ellenberger. And he beats Jake Ellenberger, and he beat him. He broke him mentally a bit in that fight, I feel. He beat Jake Ellenberger. He beat him good. Then he goes in there and he fights Matt Brown in an absolute war and beats Matt Brown. And now it's like, you've got to give him the rematch. And I was a bit nervous in case he lost again, because it's going to put him out for a while. But I always said, and I felt that Lawler could beat him in the rematch this time, because he's fought actively for most of this year. Hendricks has just had the one fight with Lawler. And I kind of think that if you're consistent fighting all the time and not having long enough breaks, you can actually have the edge over somebody in a rematch. And he edged this one out. He beat Johnny Hendricks. He beat him, and Lawler really came to fight. Hendricks really came to fight. I wonder how much of a factor the layoff played on Hendricks. I find sometimes those things do. Hendricks, I think he looked like he cut a lot of weight to me, and apparently he did. Obviously that date was moved forward instead of being next year, so that might have played a factor in it. And I think he could have benefited from that bit of extra time myself. But yeah, nothing but smiles from me when I see Robbie Lawler beat Johnny Hendricks. And I have no disrespect to Johnny Hendricks, he's a great fighter, but I'm a huge fan of Robbie Lawler. It's awesome to see a guy make a turnaround. It's pretty inspirational in a lot of ways when you see, you know, followed his career and where things went to where he is right now. Now he's the welterweight champion, and it's just awesome. I think it's awesome, it's great, it's wonderful. And you think I would just stop right there? You think I would stop right there, right? And I'd have nothing else to talk about. But one more thing happened, and it's like I'm having multiple fangasms, you know, gosh, gosh, gosh. Oh god, that's a bit vile. Multiple fangasms. Because then, CM Punk. I mean, he's had a real interesting year. I'm a wrestling fan, I'm a wrestling guy, don't hate me. I'm sorry. He leaves the WWE at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of controversy about that. He just recently does a podcast, on Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling, discussing his reasons as to why he left. If you haven't heard it, please listen to it, check it out. It's a very fascinating thing to hear, especially how that company operates at certain levels and the politics and all of that. You hear all the things and how, you know, medically they're treated and all those things. It was very, very worrying hearing that. Here's me thinking, well, he'll do some stuff with Marvel and everything like that. I don't know what he'll do. Then I'm hearing rumours about Bellator and maybe doing an announcing deal with them or something. Then I think yesterday someone said you might see CM Punk in the UFC, you never know. I was like, yeah, I'll be cool as an announcer, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Did I expect to wake up, watch the UFC, and then find out that CM Punk is going to fight in the UFC? Holy crap, I was not expecting that. CM Punk in the UFC is just completely mind-blowing to me. I think it's quite awesome. And I know there's going to be a lot of naysayers. Oh, he's a pro wrestler. This isn't pro wrestling. This is not the WWE. He's fully aware of that. We are fully aware of that. CM Punk, oh goodness, burping. CM Punk is a long-term, lifelong MMA fan. I know that if you've ever watched any interviews with him talking about MMA, you can tell he was a big MMA fan. I know he's a big Dan Henderson fan. I know he's a big fan of Pride. Nearly every UFC that was on, you would catch him tweeting about it or trying to go to it. He's got a lot of friends that fight in the UFC. We obviously know that he trains with Henna Gracie and, you know, Gracie's brother, jiu-jitsu a lot. The only question you could have really about what he could do as a fighter is what other martial arts based training has he had. He did train Kempo karate, I know that. I know that he did do some Muay Thai on and off for quite a few years. I know he was doing that before he signed with the WWE. I think he was doing that back in like 04, 05, I think. I remember he was starting to do Muay Thai, but I don't know how consistently and how regularly. Obviously, being on a pro wrestler schedule, that can be very difficult. But we know he's done a lot of jiu-jitsu lately, and I'm very excited. And looking at his body frame, I could see him being a welterweight. He's saying middleweight or welterweight. He won't rule out a welterweight. He's got to work it all out, and it sounds like he's made a very informed and educated decision here. A very informed and educated decision. If you saw him at that press conference when he talked about it, he didn't come in with that, like, you know, that big ego that some people come in with when they sign under these kind of circumstances. You know, he seemed very educated and informed, and he was like, no, I'm going to analyse every step I'm making here. And I that makes me respect him even more. And I'm a big fan of his as a pro wrestler. So much of his stuff down my other side of my room. And I'm very excited to see him there. And a lot of people are going to give him grief. And let's be real, this is what life is about. This is what life is about. Life is about doing what makes you happy. Life is about doing and going out and taking actions in your life that you really want to do, and overcoming the nerves, the anxiety, and the naysayers and the people that say you won't do it. and that he has the courage and the balls and the heart and the mindset to go and do that, knowing, you know, you're going to get some of that stuff, and he's aware of it. He's going out to there to do that. It makes me respect him even more as a person. And I think more people in life should kind of follow that pattern. Go out there and do the things that you want to do. Don't end your life with question marks. I learnt that pretty recently, and I'm doing something that I really want to do. If you're seeing this, honey, thank you. Go out there and do the things that you want to do in life, and I think it's great. I think it's great. CM Punk going to the UFC. I wish him all the best with his training. I wish him all the best with his weight cuts. I wish him all the best with his UFC career. Yes, he's 36 years old. Yes, we don't know a lot about his martial arts training. I just know snippets, but I wish him the best, and I think it's going to be a big draw and there's going to be a curiosity factor where people are going to be watching what happens, and I think that's a big part of it, and I think it's great. You always need to sell tickets. You always need to generate interest, and this is a man that's going to do that for you. Who do I think his first fight will be? If he fights at welterweight, probably Amir Sadola or someone like that. At middleweight, I don't know, maybe, God, what was that guy's name? Maybe somebody like Tom Lawler, I don't know. There would be two opponents for him. Either way, I wish him the best. Will he be a world champion? Never say never. I just wish him the best. I hope his MMA career turns out better than Juice van der Liger's. Go and Google that. And I wish him the best. And I know a lot of people are going to be having a lot of things to say because it's a pro wrestler signing with the UFC. But I'm happy for him. He needs just stay away from the negativity. I wish him the best. What did you think? What do you think of this UFC show? What do you think about CM Punk signing with the UFC? How do you think it's going to turn out for him? What weight class do you think he's going to fight at? Is Anthony Pettis the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? Or is he going to be making a case for that? Robbie Lawler, did he deserve to win that? Let me know how you think. Let me know how you feel. If you haven't already, I'm Buff Been Stuffed. Many other true YouTubers out there, but one Buff Been Stuffed. Not Buff Been Stuffed. Buff Been Stuffed, alright? One Buff Been Stuffed. Comment, like, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you soon. Take care, peace.